As overwhelming as information and technology can be in this data-driven age, one thing is crystal clear. The geeks won. Mathematicians, statisticians, and econometricians are today's hottest business commodities. Harvard Business Review called a data scientist the sexiest job of the 21st century. As you read this, information of all shapes and sizes is being mined, mapped, manipulated, and mastered. And as a result, fraud and security threats are being identified and addressed before they even happen. Google Analytics are currently installed on more than 10 million websites. In the 2012 US elections, using public statistical data, a polling guru predicted winners in all 50 states. More than ever before, retailers can anticipate what, when, and how consumers will buy. How will your company make the analytics journey to ROI, from business issues to game-changing outcomes? Studies show companies that apply big data and analytics to their operations show productivity and profitability 5 to 6% higher than those of their peers. How can advanced analytics, platforms, open source technologies, and strong alliance networks open up the insights of so much data? And who will do that heavy lifting? The data scientist must also be, or work with, an analytics artist, combining technique, talent, and new technologies to gain insights into business challenges, and help companies, like yours, transform insights into actions, increasing market share, enhancing cost and cash advantage, increasing customer loyalty, accelerating speed to insights, improving operational excellence, reducing risk and fraud, winning the war for talent. Accenture has the data scientists and analytics artists to help you on your journey to ROI. We speak analytics.
Wow. All right, I'm going to be talking about none of that. Okay, and I'm very pleased to hear that my job is one of the sexiest in the 21st century. So I would like to thank Billy Bosworth from DataStax for inviting me to speak here this morning. What he asked me to speak about was what happens when you guys leave here and try and go and get these projects actually started up in your own companies. Okay? I've worked in emerging technologies in one form or another, either within enterprises or technical startups, for the past 13 years or so. And it's always amazing to me, because I always find myself asking the question of my executives at some point, what were you thinking, okay, when you made this decision? Okay? So I'm going to walk you through kind of what they are thinking. Okay? What is happening on the other side of that door? Okay? So imagine for a second you have spent all of your time, effort, typically extra, beyond your regular job duties, and you leave here and you want to start putting some emerging technology into place in your company. It's solving a practical problem for you. So you put together an architecture diagram. Okay? You have conversations with experts, you read the blogs, you talk to the other people within your company. And what happens is you get an idea of how this is going to begin to fit into your existing architecture. Okay, step one is done. You've solved the technical problem. Okay? Number two, the cost projections. Most of us don't work for charities. We understand that the function of a business is to make money. So it doesn't make sense to put projects online unless they can be financially justified. So you run through that exercise. How much money will this save? What are the soft projections? What are the hard projections? And things like this. So you work all that out and you come up with that number. Fantastic. We're halfway there. Then you go through the painful exercise, and I admit I don't like doing it either, of putting together the project plan. All of the various steps necessary to accomplish the task you're looking to put together. What is the staffing going to look like? How many people, okay, do you need? Which skill sets do you need? Et cetera. You have thought of everything. And you didn't do this in a vacuum. Okay? You talk to project managers. You talk to your corporate executives to some extent. You've talked to the chief architect. Okay? You've had these conversations, and they're really excited about the project. Okay? So you send it off for formal approval. Okay? you get some feedback that, hey, some meetings are going on, we're talking about it, things are looking good, okay, et cetera. And then things go quiet. Okay? You don't hear anything back. Okay? You're given more work. You're just continuing on. And then all of a sudden, you come back and say, okay, so what is the status of this? Okay? And somebody comes back to you, 24, 48 hours later and says, we're sorry, project rejected. Okay? Now, this has happened to me on way more than one occasion. Okay? If I had a nickel every time, I wouldn't be standing here. Okay? So the problem is trying to understand what goes on in this process. Okay? So when I was putting together this deck, I was thinking, okay, how do I visualize frustration with business decisions? Enter the mandatory Dilbert cartoon here. Okay? Now, while you guys are reading through this, to the executives in the room, you can take off your scuba gear, okay, for now. We're going to go snorkeling a little bit, okay, but there is going to be some stuff in here for you, okay? Now, to the executives, I kid you not when I say, when the technologists, the people who are trained to solve these deep, hard technology problems, go through all of this work, spend all of this extra time, and get that rejected coming back, this is literally what we think happens in the room, okay? And in the absence of any further information, okay, this is a really good story in our heads, okay? Now, one of the things that you're going to find is that this leads to a lot of frustration, okay? Enter mandatory Dilbert cartoons 2 and 3. All right. To the corporate executive, to anybody who's ever had this happen to them, these are the conversations going on in the technologist's head, okay? To the executives, most of the time these conversations are not just going on in our heads, okay? We're actually having some of these conversations with our colleagues around the water cooler and certainly at the bar after work, okay? So there's peeling back the curtain on the technologist for some of the executives, okay? Now, I can recall one particular time where I had spent an enormous amount of time, 3 months of extra time, in addition to my regular job duties, because I was so passionate and so sure that I had the right answer to one of the biggest problems the company had, okay? I spent a lot of time. I had every conversation you can think of. I went through all of the detail you can think of. And by the way, guys, most of the time, technologists don't go through that much detail. And my project came back as rejected. And I was just furious, okay? I was frustrated to the nth degree, as frustrated as I've ever been in my life. I went home, and my wife, seeing that I was really frustrated, okay, obviously said, so what's wrong? And I explained it all to her, et cetera. And towards the end of the conversation, okay, I basically said something along the lines of this, okay? Benjamin Franklin, okay, Thomas Edison, and Isaac Newton, masters of emerging technology in their day, okay? Why? I'm not trying to invent electricity, okay? I'm not creating 1,500 new patents, and I'm certainly not rewriting the rules of physics and creating a whole new mathematics at the same time, okay? All I'm trying to do is solve this one narrow problem for this one narrow company, okay, to try and make them just a little bit more money, okay? And she then, by the way, my wife is way smarter than I am, okay, asked the question, said, why did you pick those three, okay? Why didn't you pick somebody like Galileo? And I said, well, these three, okay, were not imprisoned for their work. They were rather successful at it, okay? Well, she said, well, it's interesting that you picked those three. And I said, why is that? And she said, she's a little bit of student history, and she said, because they're also known for something other than their technology. Benjamin Franklin was a diplomat. He was the US's first ambassador to France, okay? Thomas Edison was a highly successful businessman, okay, licensing those 1,500 patents to all sorts of companies. And Isaac Newton, he was a statesman. He was the head of the Royal Academy of Sciences and the Royal Mint, okay? And saw and debated and settled some of the most controversial scientific issues of his day, okay? And I said, me still being completely frustrated, said, what the heck does that matter? Okay? I don't care what else they did. They solved a technology problem, and so am I. That's all I'm doing. Okay? And she said, okay, so look at it this way. Are you wrong? Okay? And I had to think about that quite a bit, and knowing all of the work that I put into it, all 3 months, okay, everything that I know, the training, et cetera, I said, no, I am not wrong. I am very confident that I am right. Okay? And she said, all right, fair enough. Then why do they think you're wrong? Okay? She didn't say, how could you be more persuasive? She didn't say, what other facts or information do you need? She knew I had all of that. She knew I had done my homework. Okay? She asked, then why do they think you're wrong? Okay? And it's a very interesting question, and it really set me on an interesting journey. And what I figured out is these 3 people understood something I did not at the time. They understood how people make decisions. Okay? All right. So technologists are trained to solve a problem. Okay? People with some experience see the world as black, white, and a small area of gray. Okay? But in general, when we're sitting there programming something or making a technical decision, it's either approach A or approach B. Okay? So software engineers typically have that type of decision. Okay? Given all the information that I have, should I go with technical approach A or B? It's quite frankly a very simple question to answer. Now, people, when you move up the ladder and you start managing other people and have more project responsibilities and things like this, the question changes a little bit. Okay? Project managers and dev leads. Okay? Given all of the information that I have, okay, there's a 50% chance Team A will hit their deadline. Therefore, I can accommodate this request for more time from Team B. Okay? The top one for software engineers, it is a pure decision. Okay? A or B. The bottom one is a gamble. Let's call it for what it is. It is a gamble. Okay? I am betting that this fact will come true, so I can make this other decision and choice. Okay? Unfortunately, executives have a much harder problem. Okay? When you move up in the chain and you move up in the ladder, there's a much more compelling question. They don't have a decision. They don't have a gamble. They have a decision to gamble. The previous 2 decisions, it is an A or B. Okay? The executives have a third choice. Okay? Go with something new, okay? Or don't do anything at all. Okay? The software engineer writing the code doesn't have a choice. He needs to get it to work. He either uses approach A or approach B to get there. Project manager has to deliver the project and make a decision, A or B. Project manager doesn't have the choice to not make a decision. Okay? The executive does have that choice, believe it or not. There's already something there. There's already something existing. Let's use it. Let's continue to use it. So that's the choice that they have. And it's typically framed something like this. Given all the information that I have, would I accept a gamble that offers a specific chance to gain X and a chance to lose Y? Okay? Good executives consider both sides of that equation, the gain and the loss. Okay, now, this is framed in a way that's very generic, so let's try and make it a bit more specific. Okay? And so, here's an example decision to gamble. Would you accept a gamble that offers a 10% chance to win $95 and a 90% chance to lose $5? Okay? Think about that for just a second. All right. Now, quick show of hands. Who would accept this gamble? Who would not? Okay. This room is a little bit different. Okay? A slight majority said that they would not accept this gamble. Okay? So, we'll come back to that in just a minute. But because of this, okay, executives seek what's called the outside view. All right. We've all heard those stories of crazy budget overruns. For example, in 1997, the city of Edinburgh commissioned a company to build them a new government building. They came in with a cost projection of £195 million. Okay? 3 years later, they capped the cost at £195 million. Okay? 2 years after that, they asked for a final cost estimate and got it back at £341 million. In 2007, the project completed at a total cost of 491 million pounds. Okay? 120 to 491 million pounds. Okay, that's almost a 5-fold increase. There's not an executive on this planet that wants to be in charge of that type of project. Okay? So that's why they seek what's called the outside view. Okay? But what's really interesting is that that problem hasn't changed at all. A study conducted in 2005 showed that they analyzed railroad projects that were conducted between 1969 and 1998. And what they found is in over 90% of those cases, people overestimated the number of riders on the train system, sometimes as grossly as 107%. That's not as interesting as over 30 years. In other words, nobody learned the lesson, okay, of doing this. Okay? Now, one other interesting thing to make it a bit more real. 2008, a survey was conducted, and the average homeowner expected that a kitchen renovation would cost about $18,000. To anyone who's actually done it, the next number is not going to be as surprising. It actually cost about $37,000. Okay? Despite the millions of renovations that go on each year, people still grossly underestimate that number. That's why executives call in what's called the outside view. To technologists in the room, understand what the outside view is and the materials that your executives are reading. Harvard Business Review, CIO Magazine, case studies and reports coming from McKinsey, IBM, Accenture, etc. They are seeking these facts and information. If you don't understand what they're looking at, how can you propose a project to them? All right. So here's some facts, the outside view, okay? And I intentionally did not use any Accenture reports, so you didn't think I could be biased on this or make it up, okay? IBM, only 40% of projects meet schedule, budget, and quality goals. European Services Agency reports average cost overrun is 30.5%. McKinsey, on average, large IT projects run 45% over budget, 7% over time, while delivering 56% less value than predicted. Now, these facts really aren't news to anybody in this room who's worked in this space for any significant period of time. Okay? We all know it. The problem is that we don't actually factor it in to what we are proposing back to the executives. So let's take a pretty hard look at the gamble we are asking the executives to make. Okay? Would you accept a gamble that offers a 40% chance to gain 44% of whatever the expected gain is on this project, and a 60% chance to lose the entire project budget, plus 30 to 45% on top of that, plus all of the expected gain in the event that the project is canceled? Oh, and by the way, it'll be 7% late. All right, seriously. Would you guys accept this gamble with your money? Not a single person in here would, I'm sure of it. But that is exactly what you're asking the executives to do, okay, when you consider the outside view. And guys, these numbers are for established projects using established technologies, okay? Can you imagine what these numbers look like for emerging technologies? Yeah, the gamble does not get any better, okay? All right. So one of the other problems that you're going to run into is this expected gain portion of it, okay? That is a hotly debated issue within these. Okay, exactly what gain am I going to be getting out of it? Well, I don't think it's quite that much. I think it's going to be more here, soft gain, hard gain, etc. Okay, so what we come up to is another problem called the endowment effect. And everybody here has done this. You hold a ticket to a sold-out concert by a favorite band, okay, that you bought for $200. You would have paid $500 for it, but you got it at a deal, so that's the buy price. You learn that people on the internet are willing to pay $3,000 for it, also known as the sell price. Do you sell the tickets? Okay, yeah, so a lot of people sitting here in this room are saying, yeah, no problem, that big a gain, no issues. Guess what? Most people do not sell. This is an established fact, okay? Psychological studies have shown this over the course of the past 30 years, okay? And that is odd, okay? Economists don't understand that. The establishment of this as a fact, okay, Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky received the Nobel Prize in Economics for establishing this fact and the reason why. One of the reasons is because These are goods for use, not exchange. Okay, what does that actually look like? If one of you was to come up to me and ask me to change a $5 bill for 5 ones, I do it without thinking, okay, because that's an expected function of that item. Okay? I don't expect that I would sell these tickets because I intend to use them, not exchange them for something else. Okay? Everybody has this. Now, how does that factor into our IT daily lives as a technologist? So here's the decision that, again, you're asking somebody to make. A little while ago, a system was put online and has been working effectively for its original purposes. Okay? Granted, there are some problems with it. What system doesn't have it? For a number of reasons, it's time to put a new system online. Is it sufficient to put a new system online with the same functionality? No. It is not enough, and this is due to the endowment effect. Okay? The current functionality is the buy price, okay? But it must do more, the sell price. Okay? If you were willing to sell the tickets at $3,000, okay, then there is some level in between which, somewhere between $500 and $3,000, in which you switched from I'm not willing to sell it to I'm willing to sell it. Okay? And that price, I'll guarantee, is more than $500. That's the same decision. Okay? Pure, plain, and simple. Now, a note to the executives, so pop your head up from that snorkeling. This effect percolates through the organization in that it also increases project risk. The technologists in the room will tell you it is hard enough to put emerging technologies online, especially when you start throwing in, well, it also has to do this, it also has to do this. By the way, can it walk my dog, do the dishes, okay, and plan my Hawaiian vacation all at the same time? Okay? We understand, the technologists in the room understand that we can't just propose a system that does the same old thing. Why would you put a system online that just does the same old thing that we had before? So we're willing to compromise on that. Just understand, the more you ask, the larger the problem you're going to have. All right. So, the disposition effect. Okay, here's another item, and this happens when making the decision of what systems you're going to have to replace and why. Okay? Now, the good thing about this is, to the executives in the room, you guys have heard of this problem before under a different name. Anybody that has formal training in economics, management, or an MBA has had this drilled into them. Okay? But technologists haven't. We went to engineering school, not economics. Okay? So, the business guys in the room know this is the agency effect, okay, or the agent problem. So among the stocks you own, Blueberry Tiles is a winner. If you sell it now, there's a $5,000 gain. Okay? You hold a total investment, an equal investment in Tiffany Motors. But if you sell it right now, you take a $5,000 loss. Okay? Which one are you more likely to sell? You're likely to sell the gain. Okay? Pure, plain, and simple. Here's the problem. That's the wrong choice. Okay? Time after time after time, what you will find is that you have to sell the loser. And the reason why is because it's only going to lose more money. Okay? There's the problem with that. The psychological effect is as soon as you cash that in and realize that loss, you have a negative mark in your mental bank. Put simply, if you frame the choice as one between giving you pleasure and giving you pain, evolution says you're going to pick the pleasure. Okay? Managers have this drilled into them because nothing loses more money on Wall Street than the agency effect. Guys, there are traders on Wall Street who suffer from this so much, okay, that they only have winners about 30% of the time. Okay? Guys, a dart-throwing monkey could achieve better results than that, just on pure randomness. Okay? This is a massive problem within organizations. That's why it's drilled into executives. But technologists don't generally understand it. All right. So if we make it real into our everyday lives in the technology organization, okay, this is the scenario that you're asked with. A while ago, two different pieces of technology were recommended and implemented. Okay? Technology A is widely seen as a success. But technology B has been problematic since the beginning and is currently your responsibility to work with. Okay? You had no direct impact on putting either of these technologies online. Okay? You're an unbiased observer. You do not have a mental account built up on this. Okay? So which one are you going to want to replace? Technology B. Easy. The guys who make the decisions, who made the decision to put that in line, okay? Sometimes the bosses, sometimes somebody over another division, somebody like this, they do have a mental account against that decision. Which one are they going to want to replace? Technology A. Okay? It's actually, believe it or not, easier to replace a successful technology than a problematic one. Okay? That's kind of ironic. All right. And then there's another problem that we ask. Okay, there's another issue, and this is one that I face more often than any of the others. In my opinion, what is the potential success for this plan? Okay? Now, you guys spent months, just like I did, putting this together. You've thought of every technical contingency. You know exactly how everything is going to get mapped in the database, every SOA bus, every adapter, etc. Yeah. Do you think I could sign up for this being successful? Would anyone sign up for this being successful? No. And here's the reason why. And, which one of these two options do you think is more probable? Okay? Now, just answer the question to yourself. If you're like most people, you choose option 2. And the reason why is because option 2 is a much better story. It's not more probable, it's more plausible. Okay? And if you want to see that, these two vary on one thing. One says North America, one says California. Okay? It's more likely to have a massive flood in a huge geographic area like North America than it is here in just California. Okay? Guys, this effect, 85 to 90%, when this test was originally conducted on a similar question, 85% of students at major universities, I'm talking Harvard, Berkeley, Stanford, etc., failed to get this right. Okay? Because the story was more plausible, okay, but not more probable. Okay? So how does this affect the everyday? Okay? Good question. Adding details to scenarios makes them more plausible and persuasive. Okay? You get to tell a great story to the executives. You can tell them what nirvana looks like. Problem is, it's not as likely to come true. So if you're a technical architect and expert, which one of these two would you endorse? Okay, just visually, the decision becomes pretty straightforward. Okay? I can say the one on the bottom right is more likely to come true because it has far less detail in it. Okay? Now, do you have to fill in that detail at some point? Yeah, absolutely, don't get me wrong. Okay? But when you're proposing a project, the detail is not as important as do you have a strategy, okay, to figure it out when it doesn't work the way you thought it does. Okay? Now, a lot of people are hearing, oh, well, that's what Agile's supposed to do. Hence its popularity, guys. Okay? All right. That's known as the forecaster's trap, by the way. All right. So, how does anything new happen? I mean, we've got some pretty substantial hurdles. And guys, I have not put in any specific budget numbers. I've not talked about any specific technology. Okay? I have done nothing but give you a general overview of how people make decisions. Okay? That's before, these are all the problems you have before you fill in what you actually want to do and why. Okay? So how does anything happen? Okay? Startups out-innovate enterprises on a routine basis. Okay? Why? Okay? Their decision to gamble, they actually changed the question. Okay? So, would you pay $5 to participate in a lottery that offers a 10% chance to win $100 and a 90% chance to win nothing? Okay, quick show of hands. Who would participate in that lottery? A far better percentage of people in the room. Guess what, guys? This is the previous gamble. They're identical. You still lose $5. You still got the same percentages. All we did was change a few of the words and rearrange their wording. This is what's called framing. Okay? If you frame the request as a cost to play as opposed to a gamble, you will be far more successful. And this is due to nothing more than the psychology of what you're asking the executives to do. Okay? Now, the other lessons that we've learned. Startups out-innovate enterprises. Why? There's no endowment effect. Okay? There's nothing to compare against, so no need to decide how much functionality is enough. Okay? No disposition effect. Nothing to repair or replace. Therefore, no need to acknowledge failure. Okay? There's no mental accounts on anybody. Okay? Number 4, the forecaster's trap is still possible. There are plenty of startups, okay, that come out with these great grandiose visions and at 9 a.m. and by 5 p.m. they are completely thrown out the window. Okay? Forecaster's trap is still possible. Okay? But they generally expect to be wrong and adapt quickly. In other words, they've developed that strategy on how to do that. Okay? Enterprises, quote, can't afford to be wrong. In one of the studies I read I saw that an interesting statistic. 17% of executives, okay, have a potential project that endangers the existence of their company if it was to run over. 17%, guys, that's 1 in 5. Okay? Enterprises can't afford to be wrong. Okay? And that's such a pervasive mindset, okay, that it comes out in this forecaster's trap. All right. So these are the new rules that we've kind of learned on how to go back after this conference, talk to your executives, and start working through how to get these emerging technologies into your organization. Acknowledge the decision to gamble, okay? Acknowledge what that is, but change the question. Frame it as a cost to play, okay? Deciding how much new functionality is enough is a losing battle, okay? So don't try, okay? When you include the risk, okay? Replacing a problematic system acknowledges failure, not a winning approach, okay? It's not a winning approach to try and do that. Trying to predict every technical possibility is a fool's errand. Okay? And God knows I've been on it more than once. But a strategy and direction are essential to success, period. Okay? So what does an oh, yes. This is the one time I put Cassandra in here because Cassandra has another interesting challenge or problem, okay, with the enterprise IT guys. Okay? Cassandra and big data technologies in general love bare metal. Okay? The tagline, big data loves bare metal. Okay? Virtualization, SANs, WANs, things like this are bad news, okay, for general big data technologies. The enterprise IT guys have just spent the past 15 years virtualizing and consolidating data centers, and here you guys are coming in and saying, no, I want 100 bare node servers, I want them up tomorrow, and by the way, find it in your budget. Okay? They're like, not going to happen. Okay? It is quite common for people to get so frustrated in working with enterprise IT that we have had clients that have said, we do not want to go work with them, we do not want to talk to them, don't even think about it, but I want all these big data tech. Okay? So, take these guys out for a drink. Okay? Don't try and explain to them why your solution is better. Invite them to participate in a new and emerging technology project. I guarantee you will have volunteers from the enterprise IT organization. Okay? The next thing that you do is you stand it up as a small pilot. Okay? Something in the cloud, something small, things like this. And you build their comfort level and confidence. Guys, you think the executives were risk adverse? You should see enterprise IT. Okay? They're the one that get the call at 3 a.m. while on vacation in a foreign country because the programmer forgot to put a period, forgot to put in a semicolon or something like this, and now their entire day has gone to hell. Their wife is yelling at them. Their kids are crying. They are way more risk adverse than the executives are. Okay? They take a lot longer to bring around. You have to include them from the beginning, and you have to let them play around and see what they're going to be working with. Telling them that Netflix is the largest implementer and Google uses something similar, the next sentence out of their mouth is, we're not Netflix and we don't have Google's budget. Okay? Credentializing does not help the enterprise IT guys. Okay? So, the ideal project is not replacing an existing system, okay, with known capabilities. Okay? The rules lead to this kind of conclusion. is providing a new set of capabilities that the enterprise does not currently have. Over time, the existing capabilities will be replatformed. Okay, that's almost inevitable. Okay, and guys, this isn't a new thing. Those same three guys understood that. Okay, bifocal lenses didn't exist before Benjamin Franklin invented them. New capability and functionality. Thomas Edison, 1,500 patents. Enough said. Isaac Newton redefined physics with a brand new type and invented a new type of mathematics in the process. None of these three guys changed it. Okay? They invented something new. Now, one of the guys that I did mention, Galileo, he did try and change an existing emerging technology, if you will, from geocentrism to heliocentrism, the idea that the sun is the center of the universe. And what happened to him? Okay? So, there's another factor in all this, guys. If you're sitting in this room, you are now a member of the fraternity of fools. Welcome to the club. We got dues and jackets. Okay? A greater fool is an economic term. Okay? It is somebody that with the perfect blend of self-delusion and ego that believes he can succeed where others have failed. Okay? Most people spend their lives trying not to be the greater fool. Okay? They're a patsy. Okay? We run for their chair when the music stops. Okay? There's a problem with that. All great things are accomplished by greater fools. Welcome to the club. Thank you.